Hi, I am Peter Glowitsky from Mayo Clinic, Editor-in-Chief of the Journal of Vascular Surgery. I am pleased to introduce to you 4 excellent papers of the July issue of the JVS. You can download these free of charge this month from our website www.jvascsurg.org. The TCAR procedure is gaining traction, and this month the editor's choice article is a multi-institutional analysis of transcarotid artery revascularization compared to carotid endarterectomy, written by Dr. Vikram Kashyap and colleagues from Cleveland, Ohio, Austin, Texas, St. Louis, Missouri, and Indianapolis, Indiana. In this propensity-matched controlled study, early results of 292 TCAR procedures were compared to those of 292 carotid endarterectomies. 30-day stroke and death rates were 1.4% after TCAR and 1.0% after endarterectomy, not significantly different from each other. There were similar stroke and death rates at 1 year in both groups, 4.6% after TCAR and 6.7% after endarterectomy in the matched cohorts. It was only cranial nerve injury that was significantly less in the TCAR group, 0.3% compared to 3.1% in the carotid endarterectomy group. Although prospective comparative studies are still warranted, these data already suggest that TCAR has similar outcomes of stroke and death than carotid endarterectomy and carries a much lower risk of cranial nerve injuries. The next paper I would like to introduce you today evaluated the accuracy of 3 risk scores used to predict 30-day mortality of patients who undergo repair of ruptured abdominal aortic aneurysms. The authors of the paper were Dr. Spencer Hanson and colleagues from Denver, Colorado and Seattle, Washington. Data of 38 patients who had repair of ruptured abdominal aortic aneurysms were analyzed. The Dutch aneurysm scoring system is based on age, the lowest in-hospital systolic blood pressure, cardiopulmonary resuscitation, and preoperative hemoglobin level. Now, the Harborview Medical Center scoring system is based on age, serum creatinine, pH, and systolic blood pressure, and the vascular surgery group of New England scores are based on age, preoperative cardiac arrest, loss of consciousness, and whether the suprarenal aorta was cross-clamped or not. The study concluded that any of the 3 scoring systems can be used since each accurately predicted 30-day mortality after repair of ruptured abdominal aortic aneurysms. The next paper I would like to introduce is entitled Comparison of Major Adverse Event Rates After Elective Endovascular Aneurysm Repair in New England, using a novel measure of complication severity, written by Dr. Vincent Nori and colleagues on behalf of the Vascular Study Group of New England from Portland, Maine. The study included 4,731 patients from the VSGNE database. It showed great variation among the participating centers in the observed major adverse event rates from 0 to 39%. This was significantly different than the predicted major adverse event rates that ranged between 21 and 29% in the different centers. An interesting finding was that centers with higher major adverse event rates tended to have less severe complications. So the authors used a complication severity index, since the length of stay appeared to have a better correlation with the severity of major adverse events. And the authors concluded that outcomes after EVAR are better measured using observed major adverse event rates and the complication severity index. The final paper I'd like to introduce is entitled "The Risk of Emergent Carotid Endarterectomy Varies by Type of Presenting Symptoms," authored by Dr. Mohamed Fatih and colleagues from Baltimore, Maryland. In this NSQIP study, data of 9,271 patients who underwent carotid endarterectomy for symptomatic carotid artery disease were analyzed. Patients who had emergent carotid endarterectomy had the operation within 2 days of the symptoms, while those who had elective surgery had the operation usually at 1 to 2 weeks after the onset of symptoms. Now, stroke was significantly more frequent in the emergent endarterectomy group at any time after admission to surgery. Presenting symptoms, however, had a major effect on 30-day outcomes. Patients with amaurosis fugax, or those with a stroke, had no significant difference in stroke and death rates between the two groups, and patients who presented with a TIA had an 8.3% stroke death rate after emergent endarterectomy and a significantly lower 3.2% rate after elective surgery. The authors therefore concluded that patients presenting with TIA might be better served with non-emergent surgery, as their risk of stroke is tripled when endarterectomy is performed within 48 hours after onset of symptoms. These were just 4 excellent papers from the July issue of the JVS. To access these articles, please log on to www.jvascsurg.org. Please read all our journals and let us know if you have a comment or suggestions on how to improve these video presentations or the impact of our journals. See you next time for the highlights of the August issue of the Journal of Vascular Surgery.